The sun was just appearing when I left from Nerang Station on the first leg of my trip to the Kimberley Region of Australia. The express train did not feel very express, but it was the most reliable way to reach the airport on time. Daffy Bear is my travel companion, and he travels on behalf of all cancer sufferers who are too unwell to travel. He is ready for his first trip in an aeroplane and has his hat wedged down on his ears in case it blows off. The flight across northern Australia from Brisbane to Darwin takes almost 4 hours, and it isn't until we cross over the Gulf of Carpentaria that we have any reason to look down out of the window. That evening we visited Mindle Market and were greeted by the sound of electronic didgeridoos. And high on a sandbank, and unaware of being watched, 2 small boys danced to the music. Leaving the sounds of the market for a while, we made our way to the beach, where hundreds of others had done the same thing. It is an accepted part of the evening that people leave the market to watch the sun set over the water. Once the sun had set, it was quite dark. Dark enough for the fire twirlers to decorate their arena with their fire sticks. The next morning I explored on my own, and after walking down a very long flight of steps, I came across these cement frangipani flower shapes. A few more paces and there were leaves created from mosaic stones. Once upon a time there were a few other artworks on the ground, but all that remained were semicircular concrete slabs. A nearby sign looked newly painted, so it is a shame that the artworks have been so neglected. I came across the open-air picture theatre and peeped through the wire to see the screen and the seating. An interesting sign outside held my interest for quite a while. I had to read it all. One part I felt summed up the camaraderie of the picture theatre in the early years. It says, "Going to the movies was a noisy social occasion where people met their friends, talked and flirted, and reacted loudly to the actions on the screen." It sounds as if it was such fun. The open-air theatre is only a short distance from the water. Darwin is quite a busy port, and oil and gas, mangoes and live cattle are only a fraction of the goods that are sent by sea from this northern city. Darwin Harbour was a target for the Japanese bombs during the Second World War, and broken oil tanks at the Darwin pump house are kept as a reminder of the damage done on the 19th of February 1942. The pump house was used to pump oil to refuel the ships in the harbour, and 10 out of the 11 tanks were destroyed. The population of Darwin at that time was only 2,000, and half the population left after the bombing raids. Not far from the pump house relics, I climbed a small hill that had a sign, "Travellers Walk," on the pathway. I came across a large and unusual piece of wall art, and on reading the inscription, discovered that this was a reminder of all the people, pearlers, gold miners, cattlemen, and immigrants, who passed this way after landing at the harbour. I would have walked the same path as these early arrivals, but a gigantic crane blocked the path, so I had to find an alternative route. But I then found a Chinese museum, which would have been interesting, except that it was only open by appointment, and I had made no appointment. Strolling the streets, I ducked into a laneway when I spotted some bright graffiti on the walls. This sort of illustration is so much more appealing than the usual scribble we find defacing buildings. The Darwin shopping mall is almost deserted at the moment. It is Friday, and it is close to midday, so you would expect the place to be busy. A water feature in the mall proved quite fascinating for this tiny shopper, and her indulgent grandmother was happy to let her get wet. A quick look at the birthday cake, the nickname given to Parliament House in Darwin. There were guided tours on a Saturday morning, but I was not going to be around then. Saturday morning was to be the start of my coach tour.